When it comes to my Casper holdings, it better not dip below a million. Now, I'm not saying $1 million, I'm saying a million Casper. And even though that's not financial advice, the reason being is because I could hypothetically see Casper going to the price of 25 cents during this bull run. Now, if we were to do that, right, at that point, of course, a million Casper would be worth $250,000 because, of course, a million Casper times 25 cents, 250,000. Now, again, I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not telling anyone to buy Casper, but I do believe in it because I think that Casper has the makings of a layer one blockchain that could be very special. It doesn't have the best adoption, but it doesn't really matter in my opinion because typically people as of right now, they care about anticipated adoption as opposed to current adoption. And again, when it comes to Casper, I do believe that its future hypothetical adoption could be fantastic. Let's evaluate Casper compared to some of its quote unquote competitors. Let's see Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is very popular, good adoption, good fan base. It's not going to go in a bad direction anytime soon, in my opinion, in terms of its adoption. However, I do believe that Casper is more equipped to handle amazing projects in the future. The reason being is because Casper doesn't suffer from scalability issues, nor does it suffer from sky-high gas fees, in which case Ethereum arguably does have those, quote-unquote qualities, right? Now, of course, Ethereum can rely on these layer 2s to kind of fix that, but standalone, Ethereum arguably can't do that. Casper doesn't need a layer 2, in my opinion, right? I'm not necessarily saying that, Casper is the best layer 1 blockchain of all time, but I do believe it's very fantastic in that sense. We take a look at also the BNB Smart Chain ecosystem. Yeah, sure, that's great and all. Good adoption, very fantastic, but even according to Crypto.com research, back in 2023, slightly over 2% of the crypto hacks that happened that year actually occurred on there. So that's slightly over 2 out of every 100 that year. That's not acceptable. Now, granted, again, it still has a good fan base, still good following. Developers are still going to gravitate towards that, in my opinion, generally speaking. However, I do believe that when it comes to Casper, yes, historically it has had some alleged security issues, but they get fixed very quickly. And again, when you take a look at the magnitude of something like the BNB Smart Chain ecosystem that massive, that's not acceptable in my opinion in the grand scheme of things, even though I'm not saying Casper is perfect. However, I do believe that when it comes to Casper, it's just much better. Now, not to mention, when I take a look at something like Solana is very amazing. Good meme coins on there. I'm very bullish on meme coins like, for instance, Wen or Maneki. Not to mention, when I take a look at Solana, very low gas fees. It's very scalable. However, it does have a flaw, in my opinion, and that is its alleged unreliability, at least historically speaking. Take into consideration how, at one point, Solana experienced 8 different network outages in just a time span of a year. Now, allegedly, at one point, that's nearly once a month for a whole year, which is kind of unacceptable in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying Casper is perfect, but for something like Solana, that's not the best, right? So when I take a look at Casper, I really do believe it's a very solid layer 1 blockchain. People like to say that, oh yeah, it's not good and all. Well, I disagree because when you think about it, some people out there, they seem to believe that Ethereum is the best, but again, fundamentally, I just think Casper is a lot better. I'm not necessarily saying that Casper is going to defeat Solana, BNB, or like Ethereum, but it doesn't really need to because take into consideration how if Casper were to go to the price of 25 cents, at that point, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $3 billion. And that's around an 18x from here. An 18x, keep in mind, is something that Ethereum can't do in the next 6 to 10 months, in my opinion. I don't think BNB can do that as well in the next 6 to 10 months. Let's say Solana, could it do an 18x in the next 6 to 10 months? I think something like Casper is going to have a higher probability to do that. All it needs to do is achieve a relatively speaking kind of low market cap in order to do that, which I think is very impressive because keep in mind, right? We've seen BNB reach over $100 billion market cap, and we all already know how I feel about that. Ethereum at one point reached around $550 billion in market cap, and this was back in 2021. And even something like, Dogecoin reached over 80 billion back in 2021. Shiba Inu that year reached around 40 billion. Casper can't go to around 3 billion. It doesn't even seem that difficult in my opinion. Keep in mind, as of right now, we allegedly have the most amount of crypto owners of all time in history, according to Crypto.com research. The reason being is because there's currently over 600 million crypto owners. So let's just let that sink in, right? Currently, as we speak, there's more people owning cryptocurrencies than ever before. this bull run isn't going to be bad in my opinion. And you want to know someone else that could very well see 2025 being a very special year? That's someone by the name of Charles Hoskinson, who is the co-founder of Ethereum. Now, granted, I don't think Ethereum is the best layer one blockchain, but keep in mind, Charles Hoskinson allegedly got fired from Ethereum. And, some people would argue that, hey, he moved on to Cardano, which I don't mind, by the way, because I think Cardano is a very good layer one blockchain. But even despite that, I'm still going to reference Charles Hoskinson anyways, because I think he's a very reputable individual in this space. But even besides that, back in November 2024, he did state that in the next 1 or 2 years, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? That's a best case scenario timeline. A year, so then that's around November this year. So again, it kind of fits in line historically as to when altcoins could very well peak as a worst case scenario. Now, I get it. Charles Hoskinson is talking about Bitcoin. He's not talking about, altcoins here, right? But then I'm just saying, like, usually when Bitcoin does do very well, typically altcoins do go along with the ride. So when I take a look at something like that, Casper at the price of 25 cents, even at that point may seem a little bit bearish. However, only time will tell, but I'm still believing in Casper. I haven't given up. Anytime on income, I'm acquiring, I'm holding, I'm just waiting. I get it. It's been a long road because I've been acquiring Casper ever since 2021. Could you imagine that? I mean, it's been years at this point, right? But I'm still holding and I'm not giving up because $1 million Casper, it better not dip below that when it comes to my holdings. Of course, I'm not saying again $1 million, but I'm just saying like 1 million Casper, if that makes sense, right? Like 1 million units of it, if that. Again, if I were to put an analogy on it. However, even besides that, people may think that, oh yeah, when it comes to Casper, it's not going to do much and anything like that. Well, here's the thing. The way I view it is that back in early 2021, let's say around March, that time, right? Did anyone ever think that, a number of months later, Dogecoin was going to go to over $80 billion in market cap? Or let's say something like Shiba Inu was going to go to around 40 billion. I'm sure that some probably, of the fans of Shiba Inu Dogecoin probably could have seen a scenario where that did happen. But I don't think like 95% of the crypto owners at that time thought that, because if that was the case, then they would all probably just FOMO into, Dogecoin or Shiba Inu back then. But that wasn't really the case. Like, again, like let's say 95% of crypto owners or whatever. So the way I take a look at it is that things usually peak when sometimes I least expect it to do so. It's like, for instance, I was bullish on Floki. Floki did very well. Did around a 30x at one point, right? Now, of course, there was a pullback. Now things are having a slight recovery in a sense, but I still think it has a ways to go. But even despite that, Floki peaked a lot faster, or should I say it did very well faster than I expected. So again, things will do what they want to do sometimes when they just want to do it, right? It's like, for instance, Floki going up. But when it comes to Casper, it hasn't had that moment yet. However, I'm still bullish on it because I haven't given up. And when it comes to 25 cents, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever during this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.